admin perspective. First, we will show the website, how to register a new user, how to log in, and then we'll show the database, how you can sign in, where you go, what it looks like. Then we'll be showing the AWS console where you can do admin things for your website, and we'll also show you how to log into that into your machine from remote, and also how to see the files on that machine. Okay, so here we go with the basic website. This is just the engine, and if we want, we can go to register an account. Now we're typing a lot of sample data here. Last name, new address 1, new address 2. This is practice as an email type. As you can see, the input boxes will have a blue highlight around them, so you can see exactly where you're typing, and you can use the tab to get around on the keyboard. Okay, now that we've registered a new account, we can go back to home and we'll see that we're signed in. Okay, and while we're signed in as admin. If we were an admin account, then we'd be able to see all the users by clicking the users button. So we'll move on to the Firebase console. Whenever you first enter Firebase, I'll go back to the beginning, you'll get your applications here. So here, I've provisioned the Heroes on a Water account. So if we go to that, we can see the dashboard for Firebase. In it, you can see authentication, and you'll see all the users that are tracked here. If we go to database, we can see all of our data. This is our user data table, which shows all the general user information. As we can see, there's a practice ID that I made, and a couple others that we've made for samples. And we see that Derek Russo is an admin. So seeing as this is just, so it's nice that we can see both the user data, but we can also see the roles for each person. As we start to build those out into the dashboard, it'll have a lot more significance, and there'll be follow-up demos on that. And if we go to rules, we can see that the way that they do rules, or role-based security, is kind of in a logical pattern setup. So basically, you give read-write access to certain tables, and that will translate to read and write functionalities on certain pieces of the website. So for all, as a default, nobody will have read or write access. Everyone needs to be signed in or trying to see a particular table based off a set of rules. So if it's a user, if they're trying to see general user data, then we have a certain expression, syntax for determining basically if they're an admin, because admins can read everything. But if they're signed in as a general user, then they can see things as long as they're signed in. Okay, now we'll move over to usage, and it'll show you the usage over a time over a course of time. So you can see we can change this from last 24 hours to last 30 days, or even the current billing period. Okay. And then I have some other features, but those are kind of like the only ones that we'll be using for the majority. They have things like hosting built in, but we didn't want to leverage that. The hosting can get a little bit pricey on Firebase, so we're trying to see if we could leverage AWS as for the pricing, and now we can move on to that. So if I move over to this console, this is what AWS looks like. This is the main dashboard. You can go to services and then EC2. And the way AWS is set up, you have to do it by region. So if you go to this drop down, there's all these different regions that you can select. I'm in the Oregon region right now as a test. And for my EC2, if I go to instances, I can see that I have an instance running. And what it basically is a Linux machine. So we can sign into the Linux machine in two different ways, and I'll show that right after. But right now what we're looking at is general information on our Linux machine. Right? This is the public DNS, which now we can see as a comparison, oh wow, they're the same thing. And then we can see the status of it and make sure that it's running and everything. So that's great. So now what happens whenever we need to install new stuff on a machine? If you wanted to physically install new software, then you can sign into it. By using SSH. I'm using the Mac terminal, and so I have a built-in way to SSH into the machine. If you don't have, if you're working on a Windows machine and you don't have a SSH built in, then you can use a program like PuTTY to SSH into the machine. And like I said, this is just if you want to install new stuff. So I have this login set of information with my public key. And it appears that I can't sign in, but that is actually due to the fact that I'm not at the directory of my public key. So now that I can see my key, this is my key, my public key, and this is the visual directory of where I'm at. So you can see I'm in users, my user, software keys, and if I look at what path I am in the terminal, then I can see that I'm in the exact same path. So now I SSH and I get into the machine just fine. If you can see up here, it says Thaddeus MacBook Pro, but now it actually says that I'm an EC2 user at that certain IP address. So if I ls here to see what's in here, I can see that there's an actual Heroes on a Water folder, and if I change my directory to go into that Heroes on a Water folder, and I look at what's in there, I can see that there's my whole project, all the files for the website that we were on earlier. But this is only for people that can actually, or have the ability, the skill set to sign into the machine and install new software. It's a Linux machine, so anything in Linux world will work on this machine. That's the upsides. So installing new software is a lot easier. But if you just wanted to see the files, drag on new files, download new files, then you can use SFTP. Um, SFTP is the SSH protocol for doing file transfers, and I have something set up for that as well. There's a program called FileZilla. In the email that I'm sending, or attached to the description of this broadcast, I'll put a link that actually show you how to set up FileZilla to sign into an EC2 instance. But what I can do here is I can click here after I've already set it up. You see out the host here, I selected SFTP normal user login with the EC2 user and no password. And when I connect, then it's going to ask me if you are already logged in, then it will tell you that, but you can establish a new connection. So I can show that I can connect to it. It shows you the log that it's connecting, and then whenever you get the successful, then you can see the files over here. So if I see Heroes on a Water right here, I can actually right click on it and hit download, and it'll download it to my actual local machine. See that it's abstracting everything out. So I can take files, I can put files in, I can take files back out. This is in the case that maybe something went wrong, or maybe you want to upload new pictures manually in a hurry. This wouldn't be a standard. Normally, you would put everything in the website, and we would expose it through the website, or developers will put things in the website code, and users will have admin features to add new things to the website from the actual user interface. But in the extreme case that something goes code red and you need to jump on a server and drag something out or throw something directly on it, then FileZilla would be a good solution for that. And that's all I have to show. Thank you.